Today I'm going to teach you how to put a custom weapon in the game. For this very basic tutorial, I'm going to replace the bat. So first things first, you're going to have to go to Cake Tools, open Baked File 00, open down Props, and inside the Props folder you will find the weapons and all the props throughout the game. This is for like people in like wrestlers' entrances and backstage props, but they've condensed everything in here. For this tutorial, like I said, I'm replacing the bat, so I've extracted all these, or the ones that I want for this tutorial in my work directory. One thing to note is the prop config. This file determines how the actual prop functions. So like how it's held, does it break, what sounds it makes. Say for example you want to replace the bat with another chair or another table, you will need to include that prop config in the directory, and you will also need to copy over the Havoc folder from the table or whatever you want it to replace with. If you don't, the game's just going to crash. So let's go to Blender. So make sure you've got your model that you want to put in the game. I've got a very fashionable item. Go to File, Import, and import the bat. Now as soon as you do that, you're going to see that it's called bat-skinned. And if you refer back to the Cake Tools in the textures folder, you'll see that it's calling this texture here. I've already gone ahead and extracted the textures. You don't need to call them the same name. You can rename this mesh here to anything you want. Just make sure that you need to create a custom MTL file, which I've shown in another tutorial. So if I open up the weight paint and I go down, and you will see that the entire mesh is weight painted to a root. In some other models, so like the table, you'll see that there's 3 variants of the same mesh, two broken and 1 stationary. And if you went to the weight paint mode, you will see that specific vertex groups are weighted to certain objects on the mesh. So like the table legs, they're all weighted differently. So if you're making a custom table or anything like that, make sure it's weight painted to the exact object that you need it to be weighted to. But because we're just replacing the bat, it's very easy to do. It's like a no-brainer. So what you want to do now is take your mesh and align it to the bat. I'm going to speed this up. Okay, once that's done, make sure you do Control-A and apply all transforms. On export, if you don't do this, you'll have strange normal issues, and all. You just do it, because it's just a nightmare if you don't. Okay, once that's done, you're gonna select the bat, Control, click your mesh, go to weight paint, weights, transfer weights, do 5 for the ray radius, do by name, and vertex mapping by nearest face interpolated. And then if we went back into our weight paint mode and click the root on our custom mesh, you'll see that it's weighted exactly like the bat. Okay. So once that's done, select your mesh, your custom mesh, Control, click skeleton, right click, parent, object. And then we just drag it in. And now I'm going to take the bat name, I'm going to rename it there. I'm going to use the same vertex group name. I don't think that's required, but I'm just going to do it anyway. And then I'm going to delete the bat because we don't need it anymore. Okay, once that's done, we're going to do a bit of texturing now. So if we go over to the shading tab and make sure you've got a new material for this, Go to Photoshop or whatever you're using. Do all your fancy stuff for the color. I've already got one because this is a model from the GTA Garage made by Ezekiel. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a roughness, a metallic, and a normal. Normal maps, I'm just going to generate a very basic one because it's for this. It's a no-brainer. The shaders do all the work. So we've got that. I'm going to save this as normal. Revert back. And now I want to create a roughness map because of the object that I'm using. It's a bit shiny. You want to make it darker. So the darker it is, the more shiny it will be. So I'm just going to desaturate this. I'm going to save this as my roughness. And then the metallic, you don't really want to use extremes on the metallic. So I'm just going to knock out a bit of the color on this, just to give it that bit of flavor in game. And I'm going to save this as metallic. Okay, once that's done, go to Blender. Make sure that you have the Node Wrangler plugin installed because it's going to save a hell of a lot of time. Select the node, Control Shift T, locate towards your work directory for your mod. Select all these that you've just created, and it will hook them all up for you. Looks a little strange in some areas, but that's just the texture itself. Doesn't look shiny enough for me, so I'm going to turn on auto reload just so I can work with it better. I'll close this one. I'll open my roughness. I'm going to darken this. And now you'll see the darker it went, the more shiny it goes. I'm okay with that. Looks great. So now you want to open up your normal. Save this as NRM here. Then flatten. Mine's already flattened. Flatten your normal. Then you're going to want to open up the roughness again. Flatten. Copy the roughness map. Go to channels and put this in your blue channel. Create an alpha. Open up your metallic. Again, flatten. Copy. Close. Put it in the alpha. And now you've created a NRM map for 2K22. So we'll save that. Next step is to convert them ready for the game. So select the color map and the NRM that we just created. Drag them into Compressinator and configure them. So I want them to go here. And it needs to be back color. And color is BC1, quality 1. Save. Same thing for the NRM. You can refer back to the wiki if you don't know which format to use for each texture. For this, color needs to be BC1, normal needs to be BC7. Again, this is what I hear about this tool. Compressinator who just decides to rename everything you want. Sucks. Keep this on 0.05 or else it'll take forever to generate the texture. Save. Then you want to go here, click generate bitmaps. Do the same thing for the color. And then we'll process them. And you'll notice it's generated them here nicely. Okay, go back to Blender. Select the back, one port, file, export, MDL, locate to your working folder, props, bat, and it's here, and it needs to be called this. So I'm just gonna copy the name, go to Blender, that's exported nicely. So now the fun begins. You bake it and test it. And there we go. Now you're gonna notice one thing. You can hit your opponent nicely. However, if you drop, you'll no longer be able to pick it up. You haven't done anything wrong. It's the plugin that's a bit. So open up your hex editor, locate towards the raw file that you extracted from Cake Tools, going to put it into your hex editor, then go towards where you just exported your prop, and you will see at the top here where it says FFFF, this is what's missing. You need to copy over the old one, paste right. You also may need to include the ATPT, which is here. Mine requires it. So go 4 bytes backwards, all the way back to where it's just before the MTL. And then here, 4 bytes back, delete, paste, hit save, rebake, and it'll be working fine. Okay. And if we drop, you can pick it back up. So that's the tutorial. You can have a lot of fun with this, like I'm doing. You just have to remember that specific things are tied to that prop config. It still needs figuring out. I've got quite a chunk of it done, but I can't give an ETA on when I can make it like a tool or anything like that. Still requires a lot of discovery. All right, lads. Thanks.